The Skaven, responsible for the destruction of the old world, have never had a model update until now with Skaventide. The army of my dreams, and hopefully your nightmares. Let's unbox this and see what we have inside. Hello and welcome to The Lucky Roll, an eclectic channel for eclectic games. And today it's the 13th of July and Warhammer Age of Sigmar Skaventide is released into the wild. Now it is a very big box, as you can see. It's nice and thick. I brought a little Stormcast Eternals standard bearer here to show you how deep and thick this game is. So there is a lot in it. You obviously get two armies, the Stormcast Eternals and the Skaven. It's a game I was very much looking forward to because I have plenty of Stormcast Eternals and you can see me paint a lot of them if you check out the link here to our continuing Stormbringer magazine series. But also because it's given a range refresh to the Skaven. There was kind of Ratman armies there for the start of Age of Sigmar, but they were old cast models. So what Games Workshop have done is they have brought in a whole load of new ones with kind of new sculpts, new figures, and even new units. So I always liked playing the Ratman in the computer games, so it's going to be fun playing with this kind of venomous, ugly, squiggly, horrible, nasty horde, which are of course a complete contrast to the clean-cut, heroic Stormcast Eternals. It's also an extra thick game because there is two games in it. There is the new rules for Age of Sigmar 4th edition, which will kind of shake up the entire game, hopefully make it a lot more streamlined and more fun. But there's also a kind of a game called Spearhead, which is a short game, which focuses on the Spearhead collector box or starter boxes that go out, where you just put two armies up and they beat lumps off each other, and there's a series of point cards. So the cards double up as either ways of getting advantage in battle or scoring points. So if you find that you're ahead in battle, you can use the cards to kind of press the advantage on the enemy, or even if you're behind, you can sacrifice the potential of scoring a few points to give yourself a bit of an edge in battle. By all accounts, it's a very fun, very quick game, and one of the main reasons I was actually interested in this box set. There's plenty to it. The only thing that I'm a little surprised at, it is not covered in plastic sheeting. It was literally just arrived with the tapes at the side. So I guess Games Workshop had to cut corners somewhere because there is an awful lot in this box. But just be aware that you only have two little tags here at the side to keep it together. So if you are going to your friendly local gaming store, which I did, and you should always support, if they don't have a large enough or strong enough bag for it, you might be worth bringing your own bag in case. But nevertheless, it has 74 miniatures, so I'm just going to zoom in so we can kind of have a see at what is going on here. As you can see, there's plenty of minis in it. You also have a game board, you also have two rule books, cards, and all sorts of good little bits and pieces. So with no further ado, let's open this box and see what we have inside. Now, opening the box for the very first time, we are greeted with a nice little image. Now, these are the Hollowed Knights. They would be a kind of a certain sect of the Stormcast Eternals. And you have here the Skaven doing their thing. Now, it's a cool little poster, and I was lucky. These are designed to protect the box and the boxes from sprues. So they do take little marks, which I don't know if you can pick up here in camera, but I was quite lucky in this one in that the damage seems to be minimal. So it's a cool little thing. People think it's a poster. It's not a poster, it's just there to protect the books and the box. But nevertheless, if you're lucky and one comes out well, you do in fact end up with a nice little poster. So we have a ton of sprues here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 beautiful sprues here. So we'll have a look at those in a moment. And again, this was quite clever of them now, because you do get a second sheet protecting the books, but they throw the Warhammer Age of Sigmar one facing up, so that it kind of preserves this one a little bit better. So you have two chances of trying to get a nice little poster out of it. So this one is a little bit more damaged, but of course all the sprues were on it. We have here, now that's quite nice. I presume this is the rule book, nice and thick and heavy and actually beautifully covered. That is really nice. We have a lot of nice little bases here. So I'm just going to take those out and put them away. If I can pick up the last one. And we have a little code here that you can use to... They did this before with Warhammer 40k, that you play a game, you decide who wins, and you report the victory to the lads at Warhammer. And what they do is, whoever wins, they release the new elements of that army first. So a cool little thing, and nice to see it out there. We have another big book, which I think is possibly the Skaventide game, and that is everything in the box. Now, there's still nice little things in the box, in the sense that they give you a cool image of what is inside, so they don't waste any space in this box, because of course they're hoping to do great things with Warhammer Age of Sigmar going forward. But yep, nope, a lot of cool little things here. So before we open the books, we'll have a look at the sprues themselves. So this is the terrain. Now, I saw some of these in the Games Workshop stores that had them open. It's akin to the Mortal Realms terrain, where basically you're just building buildings that are, you know, Stormcast cities of Sigmar, kind of dedicated to the worship of Sigmar. What's nice about these cities is that they have been defiled. So as you can see here, you have a guy that's just been chained. You have a door that's been nailed shut, no doubt trying to keep out the Skaven hordes. You have bells that have been kind of warped. You have chaos torches. Again, more kind of chaos broken things. Like this used to be, these little things here at the side used to be kind of hoisting up little kind of banisters like that to kind of build the other terrain. So you see here that there's chaos kind of objects. Another thing here where the whole place has been defiled, and you can see here as well, especially, that you have the Skaven symbol just superimposed on the terrain here, and the bell as well has just been kind of superimposed with the Skaven terrain, and another poor unfortunate here just nailed to the wall. So really cool terrain here. Now, I think this is predominantly with the Spearhead game that this is where the terrain is used, but nevertheless there's nothing stopping you using it in your own main games. And even here you can see that there's beautiful detail in terms of smashed, these were the waypoints. These used to be the guardians. They'd be statues facing on the outer edges of Sigmar cities, and they would kind of give a buff to units within and inspiration. But once you kind of come across those, that's when you're encroaching on Stormcast Eternal territory, and you see here one that is just smashed and ruined. So I have to say, this is lovely stuff. And again, you see another one here where it's kind of ruined and decayed, and just even more kind of evidence of the Skaven coming in and wrecking the place. So I have to say, first sprue, absolutely gorgeous. The next one seems to be the Stormcast Eternals. So we have some interesting ones here with what seems to be some acolytes, and we have some beautiful detail here on the chest. So as you can see, Games Workshop, as they go on, just get better and better at their craft. I mean, their minis are among the best in the world, if not the best. So as you can see here, the detail is stunning, and the great thing about detail, especially edges like that, is it makes it much nicer and easier to paint and to get fantastic little results. Again, here you can see that it's the back of one mini, but this is obviously one of the mages or magic users. You have some lovely cloaks here. You have some of the shields now are adorned with other little cool things. So I haven't seen this before, where there is a chain across the shield and kind of scrolls alongside of it. You have here again, beautiful shield work, but some really gorgeous, fantastic detail of the sprues here. I mean, this is beautiful stuff. You have the usual tactical rocks, and you have all the usual extra bits and pieces, but some lovely stuff here, and especially this cape here, which has a ton of embroidery and scrolls on the back of it. So looking at the next sprue, we seem to have a load of clan rats. Now these guys are small, so they're easily to build, I believe, because you just kind of put two halves together in most cases, and you have some peripheries and others, but as you can see, they're small, wiry little things. Now there's a ton of them. I think there's 40 in the actual box, but you can see that there's lots of cool little stuff here, and plenty of variety and variations. We have the standard bearer here. So just checking the Skaven standard bearer with the Stormcast standard bearer, as you can see there's a significant size difference. So the clan rats are small, but nevertheless they are many and they're mighty. And we have another standard bearer here again, who is literally dwarfed by the Stormcast Eternal. But again, one of the really cool things about these guys is, I believe, at the end of every round in some variations of the game, that you roll a d3 and you get that many reinforcements. So they just keep coming, if you know what I mean. There's a touch of whack-a-mole, and if you don't kill enough in a round, they'll just overwhelm you. So again, some really cool stuff, and I like the fact that they're kind of decked out in kind of horrible, disgusting armor. So if you're a fan of Nurgle or anything like that, your paints will go to great use here. So we have another sprue, which I believe is the same sprue. So I'm just going to... So you have two of the clan rat sprues, which go together. But again, so there is a ton of them. So a lot of work here for anyone for maybe a week or two. The next sprue is two of the heroes. So we're going to zoom in, and I think this is the Grey Seer. So as you can see, he has a cool little base here. I'm just going to zoom in a little closer to get as much detail as we can. And you have the main body of the Grey Seer here with, again, seems to be a gun. That's really cool. Unless maybe these are some of the snipers, but he has a gun here with a base. You have God knows what sort of mechanisms is there in the back. It could be like a pus flamethrower or something like that. We have the Grey Seer's head here, which is a separate piece, but fortunately is all one piece. I used to hate it when they would put the head into different parts and you'd always have that ugly gap. You have here the Grey Seer stick. You have here the front part of the body. So he's a tall enough figure, so he's roughly the same size as a Stormcast Eternal, so he will stand out at the same rate as the rest of... He'll stand out above the other Skaven and is kind of won't be physically intimidated by any Stormcast that come close enough to him. You have the top part here, so he's bedecked in a lot of lovely terrain. And we have here one of the heroes. Now again, the shield is immaculate. Look at that shield. A kind of a horrible Hollowed Knights type of version of it. But that will be fun to paint. We have the cape in several pieces, not always the best, but nevertheless. We have here the sword, and as again you can see here, beautiful detail on the sword, beautiful detail on the pauldrons. Again, the legs come in separate parts, and we have a Gryph-hound, which seems to be extra hairy, or extra feathery, I should say. Kind of like my cat Fluff, he's just an excess of feathers. So a Gryph-hound, I suppose, with extra testosterone. The next sprue, I believe, is another two unique characters. This one seems to be the Skaven snipers. So as you can see, the barrel is exceptionally long. So the barrel is literally longer than a Stormcast Eternal, nearly as long as a Stormcast Eternal with a standard. So these guys are definitely long shot snipers. You have three barrels here, so you have three snipers with it. You have a cool kind of a little sniper shield, I presume, and here as well. So maybe the rest their weapons on top of it. But again, some beautiful details on them, and I think these are all singular sniper figures. So again, really cool little detail, a lot of nice stuff here. The next sprue seems to be the cannon. Now this is a kind of a Skaven artillery piece, which might come in separate pieces, or this might be the one piece. One of the fun things about Skaven is that their contraptions are lethal, not only to their enemies but also to themselves. So they have an awful habit of kind of blowing up a little bit. So how do I put it? They're very user unfriendly. But these are the two guys, of course, who are pushing the artillery piece around, and you have another two fellas here. So You got 4 fellas on each side pushing it. This is the bones of the actual artillery piece. Obviously this feeds into some of it. This of course is just a standard board. This is going to be a cool little thing. You have the wheel of it, so the wheel is quite large, again half the size of a Stormcast Eternal, and no doubt the guy here, I was looking for this fella who actually fires the contraption, so he is already based here at the rear of it. But this is one of the cool little artillery pieces, and the artillery for the Skaven is one of the things I'm looking forward to collecting if I do, well I should, I shouldn't lie to myself, when I decide to expand my army of them, the artillery is one of the things I'll be focusing on. We have here the Stormcast Leader. Now this is a beautiful figure, as you can see here now, the bulk of the body is already there, and he is head and shoulders above the standard Stormcast Eternal. Again, it's a beautiful kind of griffin, griffhound type of griff horse. I'm not sure what they're called, but a lot of beautiful detail here. And here is the other side of the actual mini, so plenty for you there to work with. Even if you use contrast paints, that there's lots of detail and edges for the ink to do its magical work. A nice breastplate here for the beast, and you have of course the lovely shield design as well for the Hollow Knights. So I suppose you could use the line infantry as standard Stormcast Eternals, but I think these guys are especially Hollow Knights because of the actual design on the shield, and the axe itself as well is beautiful with some lovely flames coming off the side. And we have the headpiece of the hero himself here, so again a fella that you wouldn't want to enter into a staring contest with. Now the next thing we have here, I think, is one of the Skaven leaders, and this of course is the base. So as you can see, beautiful stuff here, because you can see that they've burst out of the ground, that they're kind of coming up from gnaw holes. You have here his sword, you have here bits of the rat ogre. So it's a Skaven leader on top of an actual rat ogre, so you can see the head of the, or not the rat ogre, but kind of a rat beast here, and it's like he's rotten. He's covered in pustules and lumps and bits. So I mean, there's a lot of really cool details here. You have here a nice cool little Gatling pistol. You have here, God knows what that is. Could be just some detritus or a bit of his tail or something hanging off him. This is the back of the actual rat beast, so there's a cool velociraptor vibe to him. And you have of course the fellow who's mounting him here with, as you can see here, like he's taken a fair few trophies before he's even gotten to the Stormcast Eternals. So a lot of really cool details here. And of course this is the head of your actual leader, as opposed to the where did I find it now? As opposed to the head of the actual beast. So don't worry, you're not going to mix the two of them up. We have here the Stormcast Eternals. These are the new Liberators. So they're a bit, from what I could see, they're slightly more streamlined, not quite as chunky as the old Liberators. So I think they're going for a slightly more human look as opposed to a kind of a fantasy space marine look. But nevertheless, pretty cool minis. Roughly the same size, again, as the Stormcast Eternals as they would. Now they have this typical shield, so you have the option to just turn them into your standard Stormcast Eternals if you wish, or you could kind of paint them in the Hollow Knight scheme, whatever makes you happy. There is plenty of them here, so a lot of different variations. So these are the new sculpts, nothing major different to them. Unfortunately, I have a fellow with a little bent sword here. Unfortunately it happens, but if I'm lucky there's going to be variables in the build and I won't need that piece. So there is at least 2 sprues of these, so I'm just going to zoom out and make sure that they're the same. So there are indeed, so you get 2 of these sprues with the actual Liberators. Now we have the guys who fly down and swoop from above. So again, beautiful stuff here. We've got the tactical rocks, which kind of keeps them up. But to be honest with you, the tactical rocks are a little bit better than these, because the old clear, transparent plastic thing that just kind of kept the thing in air wasn't always great. Again, you have some cool little spears here. Very similar to the standard vanguards that the Stormcast Eternal have. The wings are pretty class. They're kind of a measure of mechanical and magical. So like the top part seems to be kind of armor and magical, or kind of metallic machine looking wings, and the rest are kind of like a touch of magic. Some cool little shields. Again, this is more of a tactical door than a tactical rock, but nevertheless, again, better than the little plastic transparent standee. So you get 3 of these guys, yep, pretty much, and another tactical rock here. So this one is actually a bit of a tactical house, so I can tell that it's one of the supporting balustrades from the standard Sigmar house. But again, there seems to be 2 shields in this one, so that suggests that there's an alternative build here. 1 shield here and 1 shield here, so you do get a bit of variety. So I presume if you ended up buying 2 boxes of these, because people do, you don't necessarily have to have a leader and 2 soldiers. You can have 3 soldiers and use a leader with an alternative build for the leader. We have here, I believe, the Rat Ogres. Now, these guys, again, are pretty big, pretty horrible. There was a lot of kind of detail here, so you can see that they're very diseased, that they're very kind of gnawed and falling apart and rotten. I mean, look at the leg here. You can see that there's a little shackle chain here that he's tied up, that there is, you know, his leg is, it's like he's suffering from mange and kind of red raw skin. You have here, which is just a big huge axe piece. You have here with, of course, like they've literally just branded the poor thing. And here I think that is a warp stone, literally just lodged straight into his armpit. And of course the symbols of the Skaven. Another one here, so you get 3 distinct builds, of course, with the actual Rat Ogres. And again, lovely detail across the board. Absolutely nothing wrong with anything that I see here. And again, like I said, the poor creatures just seem to be kind of covered with mange. And you have 2 heads on this side, so you might have an alternative build. So I see 3 heads here actually. So one, I hope, well, I think that's a head. I hope not, for the sake of the poor Skaven ogre, because that's a fairly diseased looking head. You have one here that face is masked, another one that the face is masked, and I have other alternative versions of the heads here and here. So if you're someone who's bought 2 boxes, you at least have alternate builds with this, which again is a good thing. So no doubt you have a Rat Ogre leader, and you have a some of the lads that are just kind of generic Rat Ogres. So those were the sprues. So with the exception of just that one little bend on a Stormcast Liberator, which is not the end of the world, it happens, all very good quality, all arrived in very good nick. So we're going to have a look next at the actual books. So I'm just going to, by the way, these are all the bases, so you will be kept busy, to say the least. So we have 2 books here. I presume this is the 40k, or sorry, not 40k, excuse me, the new Age of Sigmar 4th edition rule set, and a fine thick book. And we have here what I presume is the Jade, or Spearhead, Jade and Fire book. So what we'll do is we'll open this one first, because it's slightly smaller, and see what goodies we have inside. So opening this for the very first time, we are greeted with a Hollow Knight and very neatly packed cards and sheets. Now this is actually quite a clever idea, because it stops it rattling around inside the actual box, so it protects it a little bit more. So fair play to Games Workshop for doing this. So we have a General's Handbook sheet of cards, 20 to 24, so battle plans, season rules, open battle tactics, death battle tactics, border war, focal points, solar strike. So that's pretty cool, that if you wanted to basically randomly pick a scenario, you can do so. So that is actually pretty cool. So there is a lot here of these. So we have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different scenarios, 13 or 12. 13 seems an odd number, but nevertheless, that you have a lot of different scenarios here that you could easily just pick and go through. So already there is a lot in this game. We have a little template here, a battle plan, which no doubt you can photocopy or print to your heart's content. It seems to be would you fit, if you were photocopying, you would at a push fit 2 of them. Actually, if you were to photocopy it, do it this way, so you could get at least 2 scenarios every time you photocopy rather than using up the original card. But again, a nice little General's Handbook slot, I presume, for the Spearhead game. So putting that aside, we have here what I presume are the tokens and cards. So yes, these are the cards, I presume, for... Nope, both seem to have the same backing, so I presume you can customize your decks whatever way you want, one being for Chaos and one being for Forces of Order, or should I say Forces of Destruction. Nevertheless, 2 sets of cool little cards that come in their own little box. So again, what's nice here is you can keep things safe, and the fact that it all packs straight into that, again, you know, means you won't be losing it. Because if you're someone with a kind of an organized mess like myself, sometimes things go missing. We have here the Skaventide assembly instructions. So again, what's handy here is there's a nice quick list of all the sprues you get, and of course you see that you get ×2 and ×2 for the Liberators, and ×2 for the Liberators, and no doubt when you come here for the Skaven, at the other hand, you would get ×2, or you should, unless I'm missing the page. So normally there is a... Yes, sorry, my mistake. So there's ×2 for the Skaven here and ×2 for the Liberators here. So if you are, of course, separating the box with friends, you can make sure that you don't lose it. And what's cool here as well, and I'd forgotten about this, is there's a cool, unique little measuring stick that you can assemble and put next to it. One of the things I quite liked with Kill Team was that I was able to kind of paint the measuring pieces and, you know, just add your own little flair to it. So again, some beautiful stuff here. There'll be a bit of assembly in the actual Stormcast General. We have here all the figures. Of course, now I'm not going to go through all the sheets because that's not the most interesting thing, but there is a bit of assembly here. And of course, this is the artillery piece, which is my favorite idea of the Skaven. So putting that aside, we have here the board. Now this is interesting. This actually is quite nice. It's good and thick, and it certainly opens up quite a lot, so just bear with me as I open it up. It's a double-sided board, which is great, and it can easily accompany 2 armies. So this is one side of the actual board, which seems to have the actual landscape to it, in the sense that you're in the realm of life, and here on the other side, I presume, is the Skaven side of the board, after the Skaven has gone around and made rubbish of absolutely everything. Nice thick board, and again, what I'm really impressed with is it fits in here. So obviously the rules don't fit in with it because the rules must be in the other box, but nevertheless, if you want to keep your Spearhead stuff handy and safe, you can do so right here. And again, very impressed. Now, of course, I've taken this bit out, which is how they actually managed to make up the space. But nevertheless, I like the fact that you can keep your bits and pieces safe. And which, you know, given that you're paying a bit of a price to it, it was 210 euros, is not the cheapest. But nevertheless, you know, I don't feel ripped off, I guess is what I'm saying. I feel like I have gotten my value for money here, and that I have a storage system that is actually quite nice for my Spearhead game. So kudos to Games Workshop for that. And lastly, but most certainly not least, we are going to look at the book itself. So I won't go into massive detail with this because, you know, part of the joy of this is getting the book for yourself and reading it, but I do love the presentation here. And so just carefully removing the sticker. It is literally like opening a kind of a present. And we have here the book, and no wonder it seemed extra thick and extra heavy, because there are 2 of the books here. So I'm just going to put that to one side, and we'll slide one of them out. So we'll have a look first at the Fire and Jade, which is the Spearhead game. And I was blessed enough to be able to look at some of this in my local Games Workshop because they had an open copy for people to peruse, and the guys at Games Workshop are kind enough to let me have a nice look at it. So I found it quite interesting because, okay, there's a lot of rules at the back which teach you how to play the game, but it does kind of give you a straight a nice little synopsis at the start to just get straight to it, how to set up things like that. And the Spearhead armies are actually exhaustive, so they go through a lot here. So of course you have the Stormcast Eternals and the Vigilant Brotherhood. So these are the guys you get in this box. So if you wanted to do a Stormcast Eternal Spearhead straight away, you can use the figures in this box, or if like me you had Stormcast Eternals from other boxes like such as Dominion, you can use them straight away because you have the Vanquishers, you have the big boys, and you have Saint Celestine herself and one of the carriages. So you have two options immediately for spearheads with the Stormcast Eternals. So even if you're someone who split the box, gave the Skaven army to someone else, you could still, if all you had were Stormcast Eternals, use your old Dominion box and your new Skaventide box to have, say, a Stormcast Civil War. So again, a pretty cool little thing, something that I was impressed with. Yes, Annihilator, sorry, I couldn't think of the boys. We have the Cities of Sigmar, again, another cool little starter box. They were something I was quite tempted with because you'd have more, how do I put it, you'd relate more with a normal City of Sigmar guy than you would quite necessarily a Stormcast Eternal because they're all kind of heroic, larger-than-life figures. But again, some pretty cool stuff here, all designed with the Vanguard sets. You have the Seraphon, which again, this is the Vanguard set, and a friend of mine, Thomas, recently got this set and is currently painting it up because he just couldn't resist a big, huge, meaty dinosaur coming in and eating all of us. So again, he's ready. He's basically ready and good to go to play this Spearhead game, which again was one of the reasons that made it kind of made me very interested in this particular box set. You have the Lumineth, you have the Daughters of Cain, so nearly every faction would be in here with their own box set. You have the Ioneth Deepkin, you have the Sylvaneth. Now, one of the cool things about this is if you were collecting the Stormbringer magazine, you would have the bulk of a lot of the Spearhead armies already, and I'm sure if your friends were cool, you could use proxies, but if you collect the Stormbringer magazine, you would have a lot of the Sylvaneth, like the branch, which you would have the Tree Revenants, you would have the Tree Lord, not quite, but you would have a kind of a Tree Lord aspect of it, and the Kurnoth Hunters you could easily kind of swap out with something else. Same thing with the Cadron Overlords. I'm after getting very fond of these guys because they're kind of short, fat, angry, stressed little men, and for some reason I have a lot in common with that. I have the Arcanaut Admiral, which came from the Stormbringer magazine. I have the Arcanaut Company. I have some of the Sky Wardens. So, I mean, all I would be missing is the frigate here. But again, you know, you could always use a periphery for it, or even if you just wanted, like myself, just to get the frigate, just to have it on display and painted, you know, that now gives you another game in the Fire and Jade book set. You have the Fire Slayers, you have the Skaven, of course, so these are all the boys you get in the box. So if you're someone like me who's keeping both armies for yourself, you obviously have the optimal kind of lads to work. They even have the old school Skaven here, which is pretty cool. So again, if you were someone who's a Skaven army and you have the old lads, you can actually use them in with a punch up with the new lads if you didn't like them so much. So again, all pretty cool little things that they're accommodating everyone. You have the Slaves to Darkness. You have the Chaos Lord, Chaos Warriors, Blades of Khorne, so a lot here. I'm just going to, so the Disciples of Tzeentch, of course, I would have a lot of those from the Warhammer quest books, or not quest books, quest games. You have the Maggotkin of Nurgle, which of course is a starter box set, I believe. Putrid Blight King, Playbearers, Blight Lord. You have Slanesh, you have the Bone Reapers, you have the Soulblight Gravelords, which my friend Jack is mad into the old vampire armies. You have the Night Haunt. Again, if you collected the before Stormbringer, it was Mortal Realms, so if you collected the Mortal Realms, you have the bulk of these things that you would need for that. The Flesh Eater Courts, you have the Orruk War Clans, so again, you have the Dominion lads here, and you have Gloomspite Gits. Again, if you were someone who collected the Stormbringer magazine, you would have most of these. You wouldn't have the little trolls, but again, you could kind of proxy them out with something else. So they're called Rockguth Troggots, but you could easily proxy them out with other bits and pieces. The Ogre Maw tribes, which Tony has and loves and fully intends to kind of beat us all around the place with. And you have the rules, which are roughly about 20 odd pages. So again, a very nice, lovely presented book, and one I'm looking forward to going into. And we have here, of course, the core book. Now, I won't go into the rules. What I am more interested in is the lore. So I want to kind of see what way they have developed the lore in this book. So you have, so just basically your introductory aspect, collecting an army, building, painting your miniatures, and of course some of the beautiful stuff that you can get. Like this is a Golden Demon winner right here. You have choose your way to play, spearhead or magic play. You have the intro, some stunning artwork. I mean, it's nice to see them dedicate entire pages to the artists that give the vision to an awful lot of this. You have an introduction to the War-Torn Realms, some nice way of reading it, Conquest and Defiance, some lovely art style here, and the Rise of the Horned Rat, which of course elaborates on the current state of play in the current edition of Stormbringer. And then you have a kind of introductory aspect to the Mortal Realms. So these are some books that the pages fold out like that, so it gives you a nice kind of just being careful, a lovely kind of idea of all the realms and what is at play here. So again, the books are always gorgeous to see, to collect, and to have. So I've been collecting the Warhammer books and editions for the last little bit, and I'm quite fond of it. You know, they're nice things to kind of take care of. So you have Lands of Tyranny, Roundstone, Ashkey, that goes into the different realms, goes into the Gnaw, the Rats, the Realm of Life. So there is a lot of good lore here. So it's like we have all this, which is the new state of play. You have the history of the realms, and which goes into the factions at war. So again, it'll give a touch on every single faction in the game, which is pretty cool. Lovely pictures. And Slaves of Darkness, Disciples of Tzeentch, and Death Eternal. So it's still going on with figures. Oh, at least a good 100 pages. And finally, on page 195, you have the rules. So that's nearly 200 pages of lore and detail and ways of getting you into the actual universe. So that's one of the things I was looking forward to with this book, is just getting acquainted again with the huge universe of it, because they're defending it, or not defending it, developing it, excuse me. I said defense because I saw a defender here, just as a bit of a flub. And a glossary here at the end. So again, a very good value box set, tons in it, and one I fully intend to enjoy painting as soon as I can get any time free from Stormbringer magazine or the upcoming Combat Patrol from Hachette. So as always, if you enjoyed these videos, please like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. Thank you for watching and witnessing this unboxing with me. And until next time, this is Sean signing off.